Encouraging more kids to sit around and play video games, or worse yet, watch other people play video games. Not my bag. So I don't think, and I don't believe that lacrosse is the wave of the future. If you live in the suburbs right now, you can hear me telling you something you already know, that somebody in your family, when your boys or girls lacrosse is big, boys, they're like, lacrosse is the future. And it may be at the club level, the high school level, and maybe at some of the elite academic schools. It's always been on top. All those East Coast schools, now the West Coast schools starting to get involved. But it will never be a big moneymaker. It will never, because you can't broadcast it. It's a bad version of hockey on TV. Like hockey, you can't find the puck. Good luck on a football field trying to find a lacrosse ball. Like you just can't. Doesn't translate to TV. TV is where the money is. That's not happening. I want to know what's next. Like virtual reality. Ask anybody in movie making. They'll tell you. Virtual reality is what's next. Right? Some of you have the Samsung phones, right? Where you can plug them in. You can check it out. You feel like you're there. Like there will be a time in which you'll be watching a live broadcast of a game in virtual reality. You'll be courtside watching a live. What is it like to sit in those Jack Nicklaus seats? You will know. That is the future. Like and I think that the Cutler thing, and I think, frankly, that the Tony Romo thing, I kind of feel like that actually relates to something Damian Lillard actually said. First, Cutler's retiring, and I love the way he put it in regards to retiring, where he said, people don't really retire. The game kind of retires you, right? And he thanked people without thanking people. Because the hard part about thanking a bunch of people is you're always going to forget to thank somebody. This is from Jay Cutler. He put this out on social media. Quote, I don't know if retirement is the right word. I don't feel that anyone ever really retires from the NFL. You're either forced to leave or you lose the desire to do what's required to keep going. I'm in between those situations at this point in my life. Words can't express how grateful I am to everyone who's helped me along my journey. I started playing tackle football at the age of 10 and was so lucky to have supportive parents and great coaching along the way that made my path possible. If I listed each person individually, this would quickly turn into an essay, but you know who you are, and I wouldn't be in this situation without you. So thank you. To my parents, my sisters, my wife and kids, thank you for putting your wants and needs on the back burner while I played the game every Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. You made it all possible. And then he goes on, this is kind of poignant. This is Jay Cutler earlier today. Doug Gottlieb in for Colin, The Herd, on Fox Sports Radio, the iHeart app. Of course, you can always download Colin's podcast. This is from Jay Cutler. I recently read a quote that struck a chord with me at the time. It was attributed to Henry Rollins, But with the internet these days, you can never be too sure who really said it. Accurate, too. Quote, I did it. I gave everything I had to give to that. Now, if I had returned to that, it would be repetition. It might be fun repetition, but it wouldn't be meaningful repetition. Thank you to everyone along the way. You made my dream come true, Jay Cutler. So here's what when I look at this, Jay Cutler no longer loved football, right? That he had fallen out of love with football, and some of it was his body had let him down. He'd been injured in much of the past 3 or 4 seasons, the important part of the season. Plus, like, let's be honest, he was the punching bag for every punchline of every joke about body language or whatever. Jay Cutler, Jay Cutler, Jay Cutler. He's this era's Jeff Floyd. And I also think that he said, look, you don't necessarily retire, the game kind of retires you, and that's what's happened. Like, I don't want to go play for the Jets, battle for a starting job, new offense in a new city, and I don't want to be a backup, or I don't have to beg the Houston Texans to give me a shot. Like, I've been in the league 10 years, you know what I do. If you want me, you want me, you don't, you don't. And I, look, the beauty to it is, a lot of things are about luck, timing and luck. And for both Romo and Cutler to be afforded these incredible opportunities. Because they're two good quarterbacks. Jay Cutler struggled in terms of leadership. He could never really win the crowd.
Oh,
the Broncos never felt like he was their guy. The Bears never felt like he was their guy, right? He had people who liked him, but he was never that's my dog, that's my guy. He was never the true alpha in a room of alphas, and the fans would turn on him as well. But he was a talented quarterback. Tony Romo, everybody liked. But Tony Romo could never find a way, whether it's the defense, turnovers, or injuries, could never find a way to get over the hump to where we'd say, like, we love the Tony Romo story, and he's better than the accomplishments, but, like, here's how accomplished he is. Tony Romo won 2 playoff games his entire life. So for those two guys to be getting the number 1 and number 2 chairs at 2 of the 3 biggest networks broadcasting the biggest sports when they still had gas in the tank, it's not only remarkable, but it's super smart. The problem with boxing, I don't know if this Floyd Mayweather fight with McGregor is going to go off. The problem with boxing is every boxer gets dragged out of the ring. No one ever walks out of the ring to fight. Muhammad Ali, Larry Holmes, Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, like, you name it, Sugar Ray Leonard, how many times did he retire? All of those guys. And Floyd Mayweather could be the first guy, because he makes so much money, to go, you know what? I'm going to walk out of this ring. I have at least some level of my faculties. He dances after he gets ahead in a fight because he can, and it keeps him safe. But for the most part, no one ever walks away. I know Peyton Manning went out on top, but Peyton Manning was a shell of his former self. He was a bad quarterback. He's arguably the worst quarterback, not in totality, just in his final season. Arguably the worst quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl. Think about that. 9 touchdowns, 17 interceptions. Go back and watch the Broncos. He was pathetic throwing the football. This is one of the all-time greats. But he did it because he was chasing that ring. Could this be, I don't know, like a future trend where guys get out a step early to get ahead of it? You know, Kobe came back, and I know he had 61 his last game, but the last year was off. Anyone who loved Kobe Bryant, he was a shell of his former self. It was hard to watch. And I'm not trying to say that Romo or Cutler are Peyton, nor are they Kobe. I mean, those are all-time greats. These are all-time goods, right? What I'm saying is, when you're trying to stay ahead of what's trendy, could it be that quality of life, having a 30-year job ahead of a 5 or 10-year job in the NFL, when you're afforded that opportunity, could this be a trend to which guys are leaving the NFL like Calvin Johnson did, like Larry Fitzgerald almost did, and may do, and probably will next year? Could they get out with gas in the tank instead of being the boxer who gets dragged out of the ring? Instead of being Peyton Manning, who has to be forced back into action despite having a terrible season in the regular season and just having no arm strength left? Jay Cutler will be on the herd on Monday. So on Fox Sports 1 at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Jay Cutler, new Fox Sports NFL analyst. Getting out while there's still gas in the tank, and you can read his work. He's like, look, I love that quote from Henry Rollins, or whoever. And go back and do it again, but it would be repetition, would be meaningful. There does get to a point in life where, and he's also a really smart fellow, right? And when you're really, really bright, you're like, do I really want to go through the reps of practice? Do I really want to go through the hoops to get my body ready? And while we're trained as sports fans to say that, yeah, chasing after that ring, chasing after those moments of glory, that's a good thing. Like, who does that in real life? Damian Lillard said something which I think relates to this. We'll get to that upcoming. Plus, if you watched last night's NBA playoffs, pretty feisty in the East, pretty dull in the West, but the final scores continue to be blowouts. I'll tell you why it doesn't matter at all. That's coming up next. I'm Doug Gottlieb, in for Colin. It's The Herd.
The older you get, the busier life becomes. Take it from me. What used to be a simple trip to Mom's for Mother's Day, it's not so easy anymore. But there's no substitute for watching Mom light up when she sees you. Do that with 1-800-Flowers.com. Show her you care. Right now, 1-800-Flowers is giving you an exclusive 24 for 24 offer. That's 24 multicolored roses for 24 bucks. A buck a rose. All you have to do is pick your delivery date, and 1-800-Flowers, they do the rest. It's a beautiful mix of roses. It's a rainbow of colors, guaranteed to surprise and satisfy the moms in your life. Premium roses are picked at their peak, they ship them overnight, and that ensures freshness. And Mom's amazement, 24 multicolored roses. Come on, guys, 24 bucks? It's amazing. But it expires Friday. Don't miss the opportunity. Show Mom you care. 24 roses, multicolored roses, 24 bucks. All you do, 1-800-Flowers.com, click the radio icon, enter the code HERD. Again, hurry, offer ends Friday.
No Christine today. Doug Gottlieb in for Colin. The Herd on Fox Sports Radio on the iHeart app. So that means John Goulet will bring us the news. Oh, I know, while we wait with bated breath. There will be no video of John Goulet. Ladies, easy. Easy, ladies. Easy. It wasn't my decision. Hey, this is more of a... What is it, soccer? Or is it... it's NASCAR.
Usually Fridays it's NASCAR.
Yeah, it's Friday's NASCAR day. This week in Talladega this week. That is on the actual bucket list. I'd actually rather do Talladega or Bristol than I would Daytona. I know Daytona's the Super Bowl rating, but like, if you're gonna go, you want to go somewhere in the grid spell, you know? Yeah, you want to go somewhere when you order tea, you have to ask for it to be unsweetened. Which, by the way, unsweetened tea only exists to be sweetened. That's the only reason it exists. Like, whether with lemonade or with sugar or whatever, that's the only reason, or with some sort of alcohol. It's the only reason it exists on earth. But I do feel like if you're gonna do the NASCAR thing, like everybody's like, oh, you gotta go do it once. It's like the scene from Sleepless in Seattle. It's like tiramisu. What is it? Try it. Love it. Anyway, everyone says you gotta go do a NASCAR race. Okay, but I'm not going to. I don't want to go to the one that, like, I don't want to go to the one in Fontana, the LA one, right? No thanks. I want to go somewhere in the South, right? Where you roll in and there's a room full of women and maybe one full set of teeth. Like, that's what I'm looking for. I've been to the Kentucky Derby, which is this weekend as well, right? This weekend as well. Kentucky Derby's a good time. I mean, I've been, it's cool. I was at the one where they had to put 8 bells down. It was terrible. But it was a great time. And I flew in with my private jet, a world like that. But I was on somebody else's private jet, and we flew in the day of the race, and we left right after the race. But parking in Louisville, somebody's jet the day of the Kentucky Derby, I want you to picture a couple days before Christmas.
Oh man!
Only instead of Honda Accords and Chevy Impalas and Dodge Ram trucks and Toyota Tundras and SUVs, I want you to picture jets. That's honest to goodness what it looks like. There's like they run out of gate. There's no gates. There's just like they just line up. Like somebody just parks it and like beep beep, leave my keys and we go. And we go. So
Must have been tough for you.
What
But
the
really
fuck?
bad.
it's not my plane. Like somebody said, "Do you want to go?" My wife got to go with me. It was great. Doug Gottlieb for calling the herd on Fox Sports Radio. These games have been horrible. The only thing entertaining about the Warriors Jazz last night, the only thing was, did you see that Draymond Green fouled with 5 seconds to go and a 13-point lead? And the line in Vegas was in fact 13. So the dog covered. The Jazz only lost by 11. So if you had the Jazz and 13, you actually won. Like, that's the entertaining part. I believe there hasn't been a game in the second round of the playoffs decided by less than 10 points. And so the playoffs have we had interesting series? Like, yeah, it was interesting that the Celtics, the emotion of what Isaiah Thomas went through, then they were down 2 games to none, then Ronnie got hurt, then they went to Rome. Like, that was interesting, but like, it wasn't a great all-time series, was it? Like the Clippers Jazz series was, those games were super competitive and relatively compelling, but it was more about, we all knew the Clippers were going to lose, and when the Clippers lost, then they blow them up, they recycle, and of course Blake Griffin got hurt, so that it went to 7 games. But like Clippers Jazz is the best series you have through, right? How many? Wait, there were 8 series. We go to 8. And then you have 4, so 12 series. If Clippers Jazz is the most compelling, or maybe second one, like San Antonio Houston, it could have been or could be an interesting, but both those games were blowouts. Like the games themselves have not been like, ooh, that one play here, that one play there. So you'd think that the playoffs have been a dud, and they kind of have. Here's the thing: the playoffs were a dud last year, and honestly, the NBA Finals were a dud. First 4 games were all blowouts. First 5, 6 games were all blowouts. The Game 7 was unbelievable. And so as much as most of us like to tell you it's about the meat of something, it's really not. As sports fans, it's about how it ends. NFL playoffs this year, right? The AFC was a disaster. No one ever believes the Chiefs are going to win in the playoffs. The Texans are the Texans, right? The Texans went to New England. You knew how that was going to end. Plus, they didn't even have a starting quarterback. The Raiders lost Derek Carr before the playoffs ever began. It was going to be the Patriots. And then you go to the NFC, and the best NFC game was the Packers and the Cowboys. That was the best NFC playoff game. The rest were not really competitive, not really compelling.
Damn, good block.
And even the Super Bowl was 28-3. Wasn't a great game, but it's because the Patriots are getting whooped. And then, arguably the greatest or most important comeback in the history of the sport, down 28-3, come from behind, get a win. Like, we kind of only care about the finish. And that's why I think at the end of this playoff run, we're going to get Cavs, we're going to get Warriors. Will Steve Kerr coach? Probably not against the Jazz, maybe not the rest of the time. Will everybody be healthy? But if the last game or 2 is compelling, we'll come back and go, man, nothing better than the NBA playoffs, right? Let's get to Goulet with the news.
Turn on the news. This is the Herdline News. So with Jay Cutler off the market.
So he's married. I think he's
Well, sure.
always been off the market. I don't know, but Goulet, what's your...
With him, so no longer technically available as a free agent
Got it.
teams.
Yeah.
I guess the top guy available, Colin Kaepernick, probably.
The top
free agent quarterback.
The top sort of proven quarterback is available.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now some people say he isn't signed because of his protests.
Damn,
I would argue because he's not very good.
Or a little bit of both. Do I think the fact that there could be some pushback from sponsors, there could be pushback from management, that could be part of it. But I think also it's not that he's not great. He also has a specific skill set, and he's not even as good at that skill set as he used to be.
Sure. Do you think a team signs him sooner than later, or do you think it's someone has to get hurt? for him for a team to really take a look at him, kind of like a Teddy Bridgewater?
I think that teams have already taken a look at it. I think it's like a house being on the market, right? Where like you can people are like, I can't sell my house. Yeah, you can. Are you willing to drop your price, right? So if your price is I want to be a starting quarterback and I want to make starting quarterback money, well then no, I don't think he'll be signed until somebody gets hurt. If he lowers his price becomes, look, I just want a shot and I don't know, $5 million, then yeah, then he'll get a shot. My guess would be that he takes a chance and he goes to a camp because he'll have to evolve within a system. If I was advising him, if I was advising Colin Kaepernick, I would not sign for the specific reason you said. Just lay in the cut and wait. And when somebody goes down, Cutler obviously, based upon his, he doesn't want to go back and play, and it's a mixed bag whether or not he comes in. I don't believe Tony Romo's leaving the number one chair at CBS to go back and play.
I don't think they would let him.
If you're Colin Kaepernick and somebody's quarterback goes down, Sam Bradford goes down, Teddy Bridgewater isn't ready, we've seen that Minnesota has to go do something. Matt Stafford goes down. Russell Wilson essentially they don't have a proven backup behind him as he's got trouble. Yeah, I would tell you this. If I was Colin Kaepernick, I wanted to be a starting quarterback. You're done. Bet on yourself. Wait till somebody gets hurt.
Well, you mentioned the Seahawks, and their head coach Pete Carroll said yesterday that his relationship with Richard Sherman is, quote, as good as it's ever been.
Oh, yeah!
And there is, there's no longer any serious talks about trading the corner. Now, remember, Schefter reported a while ago that it was actually Sherman who wanted, like, he started seeking a trade, so it might have been from both sides. Do you actually think that situation has cooled down, or is that just too damaged at this point?
Well, look, I think that relationship is toxic. You know, anytime you call out your coach and call out your play caller when you're on defense, and oh yeah, by the way, they went and scored a touchdown, and you doubled down on it afterwards. Remember, you did that after the game last year. Here's what it's like. Richard Sherman and his agent feeling out the trade market, the Seahawks feeling out the trade market for Richard Sherman. That's akin to going to a divorce attorney, right? What would it be like if we split up the assets? Who would get what? Who would get screwed in the divorce, right? And then, you know what? We're not going to get divorced. So he is not going to be traded yet. Like we know how this ends. It's only a question of how does this story play out in the middle. I don't believe there's any repairing of that relationship. It's a little bit like War of the Roses. You guys remember the movie The War of the Roses? Danny DeVito and who's the chicken name? Oh man, very popular 80s actress. Very popular 80s actress. Anyway, War of the Roses. They were getting divorced, but it hadn't yet. So they drew like a line right down the middle of the house. And Candace Bergman, I think, maybe Kathleen Turner, Danny DeVito, who of course everybody could see being married. Anyway, Kathleen Turner, Danny DeVito, and they drew like a line down the middle of their house. And it was a disaster. That's what Richard Sherman and the Seahawks cohabitating in Seattle is to me.
And finally, according to Bovada, the Patriots are now 7-2 favorites to win the Super Bowl, which is actually up because they started the offseason at 5-1, then to 4-1, now 7-2. Are they going to end up being the biggest Super Bowl favorite, like going into the season ever? Because there's no one.
I don't know what the ever is. I love the idea that they went and got more speed with Brandon Cooks. Right? At this point, they've held on to Malcolm Butler. They've gone and kind of refurbished, and instead of drafting, they traded for ready-made players. Gillislee, for example, one of the trades they made to get another running back. They know what they're terrible at drafting, by the way. I'm not like one of the reasons the Patriots trade their picks is they've been a bad drafting team. Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski are exceptions to the rule. They're not good at drafting, so they're like, the hell with drafting. We'll get guys that we know how they can play. Yeah, look, they're the overwhelming favorite, and I actually love the fact they held on to Jimmy Garoppolo because everybody's a quarterback injury away, but at least they have arguably the most capable backup within their system they could ever have. And even running the risk at burning his value heading into next year's draft, next year's free agency, I think is a smart thing. And you look at the AFC, and Houston still has a sick defense, but are you really scared of Deshaun Watson in the playoffs against the Patriots? I'm not. Steelers, obviously, offense, but defense you still have questions about. Yeah, I think they're the favorite, but everybody's an injury or two away from being very normal.
Thus it is.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
Let's welcome in, he's not joining us via the Herd satellite network. Big news in the NFL today. Jay Cutler is not signing with the team, but instead, he's joining us here at Fox Sports. He'll be part of the #2 NFL broadcasting team. And that story was broken by our own Pete Schrager, Fox NFL insider, co-host also of Good Morning Football on the NFL Network. Doug Gottlieb in for Colin Schrags. Give me the amount of surprise when you ascertain that you personally have, when you ascertain the info that Cutler was shunning some opportunities in the league to join us here at Fox.
Hey, guys. Yeah, there were opportunities. The Jets and then talked with Cutler's people. The money wasn't right. The situation wasn't right. There were some initial conversations with the Texans, but kind of reporting this out the last couple of days and really weeks. Doug was at the Fox Sports lot last week on Thursday, where everyone else was caught up in the NFL draft. He was out there. He met with some of the executives, which are our bosses, really, and did well. And as this thing came together, the decision, which I think is the interesting piece here, was not only to hire Jay Cutler, but not throwing him into the fire, they're also teaming him with Kevin Burkhardt and Charles Davis. So Charles Davis, who was on a crew last year with Tom Brenneman and myself, is now going to be elevated to that #2 team, and they're both going to team up and replace John Lynch. But it's interesting, the Romo deal was treated one way, but here's what makes it so spectacular for me. This is the NFC. Romo's going to CBS. He won't do a Cowboys game until week 9. That's their first Cowboys game on CBS. There's nothing blocking the Fox executives from putting Jay Cutler on the Bears' first 3 games and going right at it. So they'll be doing Bears games, they'll be doing NFC North. And speaking with Cutler a little bit, I know he's excited for it, and he's going to be the whole bar. He's going to be himself, as he always has been.
Okay, so the question becomes, week 2 of the season, somebody goes down on a playoff team, right? Like, you talked about NFC North, like Matt Stafford goes down with an injury. Jay Cutler gets a call. What's the likelihood that Jay Cutler leaves the booth and goes back to the field?
Yeah, I can't tell you that because I don't know that. What I would say is he put out a statement earlier today, and I thought it was pretty heartfelt, where kind of thanking his mom and dad, thanked his wife, Kristen Cavallari, and also the 3 kids. And I know he's moved recently from Chicago to Nashville. Like, he's pretty much talking the talk, Doug. But once a guy sees that light and says, I'm done, he's pretty much done. Now, if you're saying the Lions, or maybe week 11, the Texans are 10-0, and their quarterback goes down, there's nothing stopping him from saying, you know what, I got to try this one more time to get back to the booth at some point. But from his vantage point right now, this was a better decision than waiting until August and seeing if there was some training camp injury and he can, tag along to an NFL team. So he's all in. I can tell you this guy is all in, and knowing him for the last decade, covering the NFL and doing production meetings with Jay Cutler. Laugh if you want about his apathy with the media. He wasn't always the best interview. This is a guy who could have gone to Vanderbilt without football. This is a guy who played quarterback in the NFL for a decade. This isn't a dumb dude, and this isn't a guy who you're going to be bored by. So from a TV standpoint, to me, this is really intriguing. From an NFL standpoint, I'm curious to see what those other teams do if they are in that bind, and Jay doesn't say, yes, I'll come back.
Okay, let's move back to the NFL. Pete Schrager, Fox NFL analyst, NFL reporter, insider, joining us here on the Herd. Doug Gottlieb in for Colin, who will be back on Monday. The Colin Kaepernick still hasn't been signed was balanced out. Well, maybe it's not politically based because Jay Cutler's still unsigned, right? Because RG3's still unsigned. All right, so what happens now with Kaepernick?
Who's the next shoe to drop, right? I don't think there's networks, that Colin wants to he's still football to play. I think Colin Kaepernick will be in an NFL training camp by August. I've been saying that all along. I think it's one of those deals where the draft doesn't come and go. And by the time we get to training camp, he will be as a camp arm or a guy who's competing for a starting job. When you look at some of these teams, there's no reason you can't have him compete. So I would be very, very surprised if Colin Kaepernick, and from what I'm told, he's in looking good shape. I've got people that know him say he's been working out, he wants to play, he will play. And I do think that Colin Kaepernick, more than a Johnny Manziel or more than even a Robert Griffin,
the Seahawks announced yesterday that Richard Sherman will play for the Seahawks this upcoming season. There are Pete Carroll announced there's no bad blood between the team and Richard Sherman, but like that's like saying we're in a happy marriage, even though we went and met with our divorce attorneys.
It was out there, right? You didn't deny it. Like, that was like the thing. And I don't want to take his thunder, but I spoke with Steve Smith, the old NFL receiver who just retired the NFL draft, and I said, what do you make of it? He goes, oh, that's not the first time I've heard about that. I've heard, I go, Sherman? He goes, no. All the veterans up there. Pete Carroll's rah-rah stuff. I'm not surprised that guys get frustrated, and at some point, there was their decision, and that's what we saw with Marshawn Lynch, what we've seen with others, but Sherman's going to be a Seahawks. He is the nice one of that locker room in a lot of ways. And the league of business is going anywhere soon. However, it wasn't a message to everyone in the locker room, and it wasn't a message to the entire league that everybody is replaceable in some way. The fact that the Seahawks did not deny it when it first came out, that there were conversations about trading him, is a lot.
What about Chicago, Shregs? I mean, it's not just that they signed Glennon to a hefty contract or that they drafted a quarterback. They traded up to draft a quarterback. They don't have a lot of talent around either of the two quarterbacks. And then there was the lack of communication between Ryan Pace and John Fox, the head coach, of course, between the front office, even in marketing, where they had Glennon out there with announced the number 2 overall pick. Is there any chance we see the Bears do what the Eagles did last year and at the first possible opportunity move off from Glennon and elevate Trubisky a little bit early?
That'd be fascinating, and the Bradford deal was
fuck,
back. He
2K.
never played with the Eagles. With this one, Glennon hasn't even had a chance to play with the Bears. Not he's the incumbent quarterback, and they did the move. What is fascinating is this. I've talked to a lot of people around the league, and no one thought Chicago like that. That's the one thing. Everyone had a feel for the draft, and no one at all thought Chicago Trubisky was going to happen. And I don't think Trubisky's people, who I know pretty well, were informed that they were going to do that until the pick was made. So all that shock and awe aside, I'm looking at some sheer numbers. Mike Glennon set to make $15 million next year, and it's essentially a one-year deal. He's guaranteed $18 million, but it's essentially a one-year deal they can get out of it. If you combine their two salaries, about $21 million, essentially the sheer numbers of it, you're getting 2 quarterbacks. You're really the price of one if you think you got a franchise guy in there. You have Trubisky out of Glennon, and Trubisky's undeniable. He's a guy to buy Glennon, and I guess kind of the blueprint for this was the Russell Wilson deal. The Russell Wilson was a third-round pick, a little different. They didn't give up anything to get him. I do think if Trubisky outplays Glennon, even though they're saying Glennon's the starter, there's a shot that they just cut favor Glennon after either a couple months or in the first year.
What,
All
man?
everyone said is that, there's no quarterbacks in the draft, no quarterbacks in the draft. The Bears are the only team in that top 5, besides Mariota, who really had a quarterback, and they're the one team that went up and got him. So, fascinating. Yes, there was a lack of communication. I don't think it's as bad as everyone makes it out to be. It's Fox and Pace as far as draft night, how that all went down. But I will say that Trubisky people were caught off guard and pleasantly surprised when they saw him go 2 overall.
Pete Schrager, Fox NFL insider, joining us from the Herd Dugout. They've been from Holland. Reuben Foster slipped in the draft, and there were thoughts that slipped in the draft because of the diluted sample. It turns out he may have slipped in the draft because he's recovering from shoulder surgery. And then Kyle Shanahan said, hey, we might not even have him all season long. What are you hearing about the Alabama star linebacker shoulder and how problematic that could be in year 1?
They were well aware of all the medical stuff. I'll tell you that. That wasn't a surprise. And they're hoping he is ready, and the expectation is that he will play. Now, is there a chance that he misses some time? Yes, it's a shoulder surgery. However, I'll tell you this, they were going to take him at 3 overall. There were people in that room who said Solomon Thomas or Reuben Foster, and they even knew about the injury then, and they took Solomon Thomas and then got him at 31, and they traded back into the first round. So they're excited about both of these young men. And Reuben Foster, the off-the-field stuff was red flag. That's fine. The shoulder was what really kept him down, and wasn't why he was drafted as high as other people thought. The off-the-field stuff, people have come to remember that. He's too good of a talent to worry about it. Let's just take him and see what happens. The injury stuff was an actual concern, but the Niners were well aware, and we still almost wouldn't take them at number 3 overall. Tell me how good a player they keep them.
All right, Schrager, you got lots of stuff to do today. You just got done doing Good Morning Football. You got baby stuff to worry about. You got weekend to worry. The last thing we're going to do is hold you up on your weekend. So
You're my guy. I'm so happy you're with us now. I know I can gush today, but you've always been so good to me, and it makes me so happy to see you in that collar.
All
Wow.
right, well, I appreciate that. Next time, of course, Colin, I'm sure we'll have you on his, what is it, his global satellite network. But since we're radio only today, both the world will be saved from both of our faces. Keep killing it on Good Morning Football, and thanks for joining us in the herd.
You're the man, dude. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you, Shrek. Shrek's joining us live from New York. His words are too kind and inaccurate. I have a reputation to uphold. Don't be saying nice things. Just, we don't want any of that. Doug Gottlieb for Colin. Herd rolls on. You know, it's okay to hate things. I can prove it to you. Next in the herd. The herd rolls on. Fox Sports Radio, iHeart app. Doug Gottlieb in for Colin Cowherd. Jason Terry, the Jet. Of course, former NBA champ with the Mavericks. Still with the Milwaukee Bucks. We'll find out what his future holds. We'll ask him about the NBA playoffs. Maybe ask him a little bit about the kerfuffle we saw last night in D.C. Get to that in a second. Want to congratulate Matt Barnes on 1 minute, 1 assist, 1 crazy shot, 1 bucket, and plenty of extra energy for that nightlife in Oakland afterwards. The Warriors got the win. The only thing interesting last night was Kelly Olynyk set what was deemed an illegal screen. And an illegal screen in basketball is a little bit like holding in football, right? Like these guys move on screens every time. And that one, it felt like, looked worse than it actually was because he had his hands up and he's huge and Oubre's in a defensive stance. And Oubre obviously didn't see it coming as he ran right into him. It's what happened afterwards, which leads me to believe it's okay to hate somebody. Here's the call on the Celtics radio network.
Isaiah to his left and moving screen called by Kelly Olynyk, who immediately goes, oh my goodness! A vicious cheap shot thrown at Kelly Olynyk. And man, you talk about flashing back to the 80s. One of the dirtiest plays we have seen in years. Kelly Olynyk was talking to an official, and he got hammered from the backside. Was that Oubre?
Oubre.
Kelly Oubre's night is done. His playoffs may be done. My goodness. What was that young man thinking? Obviously, the answer, nothing.
That was what, Sean Grande on the Celtics radio network? Yeah. So, look, they got really mad at each other. Really, really mad. And, you know, Kelly Oubre, who didn't see the pick coming, should have been smarter about it. You could have waited till the next possession next time down the floor, and that's when you get it back. It's not a cheap shot if you felt like you were cheap shotted. It's retaliation. It's much like in baseball, where Manny Machado got really mad and hit another home run last night. Where Manny Machado got really mad. The Orioles being Mookie Betts, so the Red Sox threw it behind Manny Machado. He got super mad, dropped a bunch of F-bombs. But, like, that's retaliation. So, like, what Oubre, what you're supposed to do in that case is either your biggest guy crushes, Isaiah Thomas. Just crushes him with an illegal screen. Like, that's retaliation. That's payback. Or the next time Kelly Olynyk screens you, you go for his, you hit him in the future. Yes, right.
Is this kind of like if you get in a fight with your siblings, you don't get them back right away,
Right.
you let it simmer for a little bit, and then you get them back later, like a week or 2 weeks later.
Correct. But 2 weeks later in an NBA game is a couple possessions later. And it's actually usually talking, if their big guy fouls one of our smaller players, Oubre is long but not, he's tall but not big, then it's on Marcin Gortat or Markieff Morris, to take care of business at the other end. You don't take care of it yourself. But, look, and I don't know if I'm sure this is good for the series. It's the reason to watch a fairly unwatchable series. Game 2 was awesome. Game 3 was not watchable. Game 1 was not a great watch either. One of the things that you do as a parent nowadays, you take the word hate out of a kid's vernacular. Right? Like, I hate, no, you don't. You just really don't like. Like, hate's a really strong word. But hate in sports does not really mean hate. It's not like if I say, hey, the Wizards hate the Celtics, it's not like all of us hate ISIS, right? Like, that's a little bit different level of hate. We all kind of know what hate means context of sports. And, oh yeah, by the way, it's good for sports. It's good that the Cavaliers trolled the Warriors at Halloween. It's good that they don't particularly like each other. It's good that gives me a reason to watch Washington and Boston. Ooh, was that screen extra hard because they don't like each other, or was that just to get a guy open? Like, it rises the level of intensity of the fans and of the players as well. It's okay to hate in sports. People have said that LeVar Ball is the Kardashians of basketball. They're not. They're the presidents of basketball. I'll tell you why next. I'm Doug Gottlieb, in for Colin. What up? It's the Herd. Doug Gottlieb in for Colin Cowherd. Colin will be back Monday. Jay Cutler, new Fox Sports NFL analyst, will be joining him in studio, as will Christine Leahy, and the cast of some outstanding producers, several of whom are joining me today. Jason Terry, the Jet, former NBA All-Star, current member of the Milwaukee Bucks, an NBA champion with the Dallas Mavericks, will join me at hour. We'll ask him about Kelly Olynyk's screen, what to do in Salt Lake City when there's nothing to do in Salt Lake City, and of course we'll ask him about the NBA playoffs. Jason Terry, hour. Adrian Wojnarowski, Woj, next hour, as well as we'll try and figure out whether or not we will see Steve Kerr coaching at any point in time during the NBA playoffs. There's a saying that I like to use that I think is a good one, which goes a little bit something like this. Doug Gottlieb, filling for Colin, the Herd on Fox Sports Radio, iHeart. You can listen to my show, following this show, on many of your Fox Sports radio stations, or on XM Sirius Channel 83, also in podcast form, best of, for the entire show. You can download wherever you get podcasts. I encourage you to do so. A saying that I like to use, which I don't know who popularized it. I don't know where it first... I'd love to say it's a quote that's awesome, but it goes a little something like this. If people aren't laughing at your dreams, maybe your dreams aren't big enough. And there's a lot of ways you can look at your life. Like, if this is the first time you click on, you heard me do a radio show. I've done national radio now for 15 years. I started ESPN and CBS. Now, I am pleased as punch to be with the guys at Fox. One, because I get to work with, it's not just Colin, but Goulet and some of the other guys behind the scenes that I have sweat equity with from one of the other places that I've worked. But also because I think you want to get into a company that's in growth mode, not in retraction, or not even in prevent defense, right? We all want when a defensive coordinator gets hired. You ever notice every defensive coordinator that gets hired says we're going to be more aggressive than the previous year? If that was possible, and many of these teams are on their 30th defensive coordinator ever, if you kept getting more aggressive, wouldn't they be blitzing every possible down and twice on third down? But the point is, everybody wants somebody that's trying to get after, that's trying to win. One of the things that we're trying to win. And whether or not, whatever your level of winning is, I want to be on a team that wants to win, that wants to compete. We want to compete. But I look at my career, and truth be told, bare feet, I am a smidge over 6 feet tall. Smidge. Maybe under. This is 5'11", 3/4. And then when you put shoes on, I always list myself at 6'1". The shoes on, you don't play basketball without shoes on. And I stand up straight, spike up my hair, back when I had more hair, of your chest. But for a 6-foot white point guard from Orange, California, to accomplish what I accomplished and play collegiately at 2 grade schools, to play professionally in 3 countries and the minor leagues, and then to parlay that into a radio and TV career and broadcast games on 3 networks, call 4 NCAA tournaments, and do Selection Sunday, and get a chance now to move back home and work for Fox. Whatever the over-under is, I hit the over. If I would have told you that this was my dream when I was 17 years old, you would have laughed at me. That's a big dream. Hey, man, I'm going to go play college basketball, start 4 years, be 10th all-time in assists for 7 months. And I'm going to parlay that into playing professionally, and then I'm going to be a broadcaster and have a national radio show. Easy, dude. Right? Easy. Easy. So it is with that saying, and with the understanding that I have full perspective on people laughing at other people's dreams and them coming to reality. That we're all laughing at LeVar Ball. But it's not because he's a complete idiot. He's actually exposing the idiocy in my profession, to be completely honest. He's exposing kind of the weakness in society in 2017. But he's also hurting the commodity that he most wants to protect. If you haven't been paying attention, you're stuck under a rock. Yesterday it was announced that Big Baller Brand, which I have a problem even saying, not because I was going to, it's not like have a herniated disc, or a ruptured disc. That I want to make sure I enunciate. Because a bulging disc, right? I want to enunciate. No, it's just because like I'm promoting a brand that's not really a brand, right? Which is kind of the genius and kind of the idiocy to the whole thing. So they're going to have $500 shoes, $495, and $220 slides. You guys know slides. And just so you know, like every AAU high school basketball player, college basketball player, and probably some NBA guys, at some point in time, slides may not be your thing, but you have owned or will own a pair of slides. Just because you don't have to, you come into a gym, you don't want to, you have your game shoes, you don't want to wear them outside, right? You don't want to get them all dusty. You don't want to wear them when you're sitting in the bleachers. Then when you get ready for your game, you pop off your slides, you put them in your bag, and you pop on your game shoes and you lace them up. Or if you're taped, and you walk around in socks with your slides on, and then you get ready for your game, you tape. So the slides are actually a smart idea. The shoes are actually a smart idea. Remember, Nike, Adidas, Under Armour all said like, hey, we don't want your brand, we want your kid to wear our brand. So the shoes are $500, the slides are $220. You want to know what basketball people think? Here's Mike Brown, head coach or interim head coach of the Golden State Warriors after last night's game.
Would you buy your kids a pair of shoes for $500 from an unproven NBA player out to college?
No. Any other questions?
They're laughing. If somebody's not laughing at your dreams, they might not be big. Like, he has a dream. He has a vision of, hey, you know what? I know my kid is the truth. We're going to create our own brand. And there's a kind of an idiot savant thing to it, right? Like, if you sell shoes at $500 a pop, and you sell 1,000. Ryan Music, my producer, Music, give me the math. 500,000 shoes. How much money do you make?
$500,000.
Okay. Goulet, if you sell the same shoes for $50, right? So that's more than the Marburys. You go like, hey, all these other shoes, LeBron shoes are $200. We're going to sell them for $50. You kind of go low end of the brand, right? How many shoes do you have to sell in order to make $500,000? $50 a pop.
You lost me.
You think you want to help here?
I'm going to go with 50,000.
50,000 at $50 a pop? No.
I know that's not right.
That's not
I don't know
right.
what the answer is.
That's $2.5 million.
I tried.
Okay. Okay, look, guys, this is not like I know that we thought we would never use algebra or math. Like I was told there'd be no math.
I was told to talk sports,
I was
not
told to
math.
talk sports. But like if you sell at $50 a pop and you're trying to make $500,000, am I wrong to think that you need to sell 10,000 shoes at $50 a pop? Isn't that actually how the math works?
Yeah, I got the calculator. That's right.
Okay. And for the record, did I use a calculator?
No.
It's just unagi salmon skin roll. Actually, you just move the zeros over. It's really not.
That's
Got a trick to it.
That's why they pay you more than.
No, it's not really why, but there's other reasons why. But if you want to make that the reason why, like I would have had my own show, but I couldn't do the math. Point is, there's a certain kind of brilliance to it, and like a lot of us we're comparing his shoe to basketball shoes, whereas LeVar Ball's like, he was asked, isn't the price excessive? He says, well, why is that excessive? Prada, Gucci are selling theirs for what they want. My sandal looks better than that. It feels better. this stuff right here is symbolic. And that comes with a price. No one's ever come into the game with their own brand. My son has his own slider, his own shoe. But even before he even touched the floor as a rookie, guess what? He designed all of it. It's like, it's cool. It's actually kind of genius. It's what is the man? My wife is on that site. There's a site to which you can sell all of your own stuff. And you know, like mom and pop, you make T-shirts or woodworking, or wood carving, or whatever. There's I forget what the site is, where it's like all these little mom and pop stores across the country can sell their own stuff, which is kind of what he's doing. Nike, for years now, if you go to Nike.com, you can design your own shoes. Like, I don't know if you're an athlete as a kid, or maybe you're just a fan as a kid, you used to get your shoes in. If you wanted an orange swoosh, you had to buy some of the white swoosh and then color it in orange. And now they're like, hey, look, if you're willing to pay $200, like Nike, you can design your own shoe on a computer. So all they did was, like, they took that idea and like, well, why stop with just the swoosh and the colors of the shoe? You design your own shoe. And then you upcharge everybody, and you try and get the top of the market, not the Marbury bottom of the market. You don't have to sell as many shoes. It's brilliant. And if people aren't laughing at your dreams, then maybe they're just not big enough. These are big dreams. He stared down Nike. He stared down Under Armour. He stared down Adidas and walked out without a deal. It's like walking into Shark Tank and going like, you know what? Cuban, Mr. Happy, what's the woman's name? The guy who did Sean John 2. Yeah, I don't want your deal. Because I want my own brand. I don't want to give you a portion of it. I want you to help grow. But, he hasn't played a game yet. Right? He hasn't played. And much like in college basketball, like one of the things that is troublesome to me is that we as broadcasters, we don't do a great job of pointing out that the brands of the schools and the brands of the network build the brands of the kid. The brands of the kid aren't really worth anything. The brands of the schools are, and then if you use that smartly, you play for that university, you use that brand, and even after you're done playing, you'll say, I played at UCLA, me, I played at Oklahoma State, I played at Notre Dame. That brand has helped elevate my personal performance. So there's very little Lonzo Ball brand, but there's a LeVar Ball brand. And it's helped out by all of us. I'm doing what LeVar Ball wants me to do.
Fuck, man.
Dude, much like
what team should I play with
wanted everybody to talk
next?
about him when he was running for president.
Let's see.
Between what he tweeted, what he said, what his surrogate said, like it was every night or every website that covered the political sphere. It was, if you looked at the headlines, Trump, Trump,
Ben
Trump,
Simmons, dude.
if you looked at the rundowns, Trump, Trump, Trump. And the more outlandish it was, the more we covered it. It was like catnip to the masses. I can't stay away. I can't stay away. Don't talk about LeVar Ball. Don't talk about LeVar Ball. I'm not going to talk about LeVar Ball. How can I not talk about LeVar Ball? Like $500 for a pair of hoop shoes that I have no idea of the quality, when I can get, Kobe's that I know are comfortable, that look similar, that I know the quality, that look cooler, and that it's Kobe freaking Bryant, one of the greatest players we've ever seen. Or I could go buy a pair of
Let's
Jordans.
see, what team?
That Tinker Hatfield designed, like with Nike. But LeVar Ball, a year ago, did you guys know who he was? Like, I did, but that's because I'm a basketball junkie. You guys know who he was? LeVar Ball said, you're like, who the hell is LeVar Ball? The genius to him is that he's created kind of his own personal brand. The issue with it is our need as media members to cover. We got to cover it. We got to talk about it. Even if the press is negative. What, $220 slides? Dude, go down to at Zappos and order them for $30 a pop, right? He's going to compare him to Prada. He's going to compare him to all these high-end, like, dude, Prada is a brand. They have all this other stuff. By the way, I'm sorry, dudes that walk in with Prada, I can't take you seriously. I can't. Sneakers are for sneaker companies. But the problem is as much with us as it is with him. But just like we saw with the ascendance of the presidency, to the presidency of Trump, just like we saw with the Kardashians, where now the genius of the Kardashians say crazy stuff, allow the world in, have a reality show, and then you brand all the stuff and people will buy it. I don't know anybody who does, but somebody does. They're worth like $100 million. Like the things our president said in order to get elected as president, but from now on, all of those things with his logo on it after he's done in office, 3.5 years or 7.5 years, whatever it is, that will be worth more money. Why? Because now it's the former president of the United States, Trump. So he's playing us. We're playing right along. We're drinking it up like soup. We're eating it up like catnip. And so is he an idiot? Is he making us not like his son, who's imminently and completely likable? Yeah. But it's working. And if people aren't laughing at your dreams, maybe they're just not big enough. Mike Brown, a sitting head coach who coached the Cavs twice, LeBron twice, who coached the Lakers. But it's working. And if people aren't laughing at your dreams, maybe now coaches the Golden State Warriors, openly laughed and mocked. And Mike Brown, by the way, is not, I'm not even talking about, he's not pop, he doesn't have like a vicious tongue. Mike Brown is top 5 human beings on coaching staffs in the NBA. Like, he's a great dude. And if he's laughing at you, what do you think everybody else is saying about you? That's what happens when you have big dreams. It's Etsy. So he's basically taking the Etsy idea and the Nike sign your own shoe idea and combining it using Twitter, the media, his son, and building a brand. And it's genius and just might work, but I don't necessarily think that's a good snapshot of who he wants his son to be, or maybe of who we should be as media members.
Oh, come on, pick up the ball, D-Roll. Oh my God.
I don't know if you saw what Damian Lillard said, but Damian Lillard's statement is the anti-LeBron, is the anti-CP3, is the anti-Carmelo. Tell you what he said and wonder if it's so bold, but it gets so crushed, in spite of the fact that many of you use that same theory in your own life. It's next. I'm Doug Gottlieb. This is The Herd. Doug Gottlieb in for Colin. The Herd rolls on. Fox Sports Radio, the iHeart app. Get to relay with the news in just a moment. I saw this from Portland, and I'm fascinated by whether or not this kind of becomes kind of a growing sentiment in the NBA. Growing sentiment in the NBA. Damian Lillard, who of course stayed in Portland and seemed to have a better year last year than he did this year. Marcus Aldridge left. They lost other pieces, and then they kind of surprised the world. They won 46 games a year ago. And then this year, of course, just like last year, they were beaten in the playoffs by the Golden State Warriors. But Damian Lillard had an exchange with a Twitter follower. Quote, "I'm willing to not win it if I can't build it where I am." The exchange started when a Twitter follower told Lillard to get a platinum record, referencing Lillard's album, The O, since he wouldn't get any rings in Portland. Lillard responded saying, "Only time will tell." This rumors prompted another follower to riff on Portland's Rip City moniker before advising him to join the Warriors. Lillard had to come back for that. Lillard, remember, he's in his 5th season. He's a 2-time All-Star. They were swept in the first round by the Golden State Warriors. And so the idea is, I'm willing to not win it is the big quote. I'm willing to not win it. Because, look, there are 28 NBA cities. And not all NBA cities are created alike. Portland is a great NBA city. Obviously, it rains a lot, but the weather's a little bit better than, half of the eastern seaboards. You got kind of an eclectic amount of diversity within the city. You have water that's close by. You got great restaurants. You have great support. You got a rich owner who's willing to do what it takes in terms of facilities. And by the way, you're the only major sport in town. MLS, I know, is really popular there. Well, let's be honest, MLS is not ideal, right? So, if there's 28 cities and you're king of one, and you're happy and you're healthy and this is your team, why do I have to chase something because somebody else said that somehow will make me feel better about myself? That will get the word up.
Let's go, Melo.
That will make me feel better about myself. That will make me feel like I'm accomplished.
Vindicate?
Yeah, vindicate. Vindicate my existence.
Come on, why you go to that side?
So many people validate. That's the word. Validate. Thank you. Validate my existence. Like, I don't need to validate my existence. And it's interesting that, and look, if you've ever had a bad boss in this world, a bad boss, not here. I mean, I might have a bad boss, but I've only been here a couple weeks, so maybe not. If you ever had a bad boss,
Oh my God, get the fuck out of there.
There's some sort of problem, issue, or whatever, perceived, or real. And instead of having lunch and talking about it, or instead of letting it fix itself, they get involved. We got a problem. They send an email up the chain. There's a problem. I'm going to fix it. I'm on the scene. And then nothing much changes except time heals all wounds, and a couple weeks later, they take credit for the fact that
Don't Porzingis
they validated their existence. So I think there are people that think, well, you got to validate your existence by competing for a championship. Why? Why? Because society told me so? Like, who does that? Who does that in their work? Like, yeah, don't get me wrong. I came to Fox because I want to win. I want to compete. But I also want to be happy. Chase, you cannot mess with happy. David Lillard's happy. He's a Southwest flight away from Oakland. He's in the West Coast, which is there's a better and different sensibility. He's got a coach he likes, a city he likes, people he knows, everybody at the arena, all the ownership, all the front office, all the marketing. He's got his Adidas deal. Adidas also located in Portland. But because you say that I'm only happy, my existence only matters if I win a title. Most people don't do that in their life. If you're happy, if you're well compensated, and if, by the way, you're the king of your company, why move? An interesting thought for Chris Paul, the king of the LA Clippers. Granted, they're the Clippers. The trailer park of the NBA, right? Like, they're the laughingstock forever of the NBA. But he has the best trailer in the trailer. Get to Goulet with the news.
Turn on the news. This is the Herdline News.
So Alabama's Reuben Foster kind of unexpectedly took a big drop at the draft last week. Fell late. 49ers traded up to get him at the end of the first round. So now we might know why. Here is 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan.
Our doctors felt good about his shoulder. They thought it was recovering well, and they didn't have the same report a lot of other teams did. And the worst case scenario is the shoulder doesn't heal correctly, and you got to do it again. And when you have to do it again, you got to get another surgery, and so it'd be tough to play this year.
So basically what he's saying is the surgery that he had that people knew about might not have really worked. Is this a big deal, or because of where they got him in the draft, is that a perfect risk to take on a guy that might have an injury?
Both. I mean, look, one of the reasons that the Buffalo Bills fired their general manager earlier this week, it was earlier this week, right? I get my weeks, was because last year they drafted Shaq Lawson, who had a bad shoulder. right? And whether Doug Whaley knew it or didn't know it, there was, Shaq Lawson denied it, and of course he needed surgery, missed I think the first 4 or 6 games of the season. He also of course had Sammy Watkins, who had the foot problem. The foot problem was after he started playing for the Bills. But the point is, if you get damaged goods, that's why he slid in the draft. But for the Niners, they don't need Reuben Foster to play right away. They don't. So it's different for them than it is other teams drafting at that spot. Here's one last thing. I'm going to guess that when Reuben Foster had his initial shoulder surgery, the surgeon came out and said everything went as planned. He's going to make a full recovery in however many weeks, right? No athlete has ever had a botched surgery per the surgeon. No surgeon has ever come out and said, I screwed that one up, right? But it appears they may have screwed that one up.
So Steve Kerr has been absent from the Warriors bench since Game 3 of their first-round series with the Blazers. There's a report out today that he is unlikely to return during this series with the Jazz. He's still out indefinitely. He's suffering from complications from a bad surgery.
Yes,
like dizziness and headaches.
He didn't have a bad surgery. That surgery went exactly as planned.
2 years later, he still has complications from it. How far can the Warriors go without him?
They can win a championship without him. I just think it makes it prohibitively more difficult. He has great feel. You cannot, in any field, you cannot teach feel. He has great feel for manipulating players and their egos, but also for substitutions. They are far and away the favorite to win this thing, because they're just matchup problems galore for the Cavs when they go to the death line. But if Steve Kerr's not healthy, it brings them a little bit closer to the Cavaliers.
And finally, are you a conspiracy theory guy? Do you enjoy conspiracy theories?
Depends.
Okay. Well, in Game 1 of the Wizards-Celtics series, Markieff Morris severely injured his ankle.
Sprained his ankle. He said it was the worst sprain he's ever had.
Then in Game 2, plays pretty well, 16 points, 6 boards, 3 assists, looks good. This has led to a theory that the guy playing in Game 2 was actually his twin brother, Marcus Morris.
Right, and he also was terrible defensively. Marquiff's a little bit better defensively.
Right. So Marcus tweeted that he wouldn't play for a team unless he was on the team. However, in AAU ball, they admitted they once did this.
Do they have all the same tattoos?
Well, Markieff fouled out. Marcus had hurt his ankle, so Markieff, they swapped jerseys without anyone noticing, and then he played with a little bit of a limp pretending to be hurt.
Right, it's like
Is that even possible that they can pull something like that off in the NBA?
They have a lot of tattoos. I just don't know, do they have all the exact same tattoos? And if they don't, that seems way too easy to prove. It's like most conspiracy theories. Like, if somebody's lying, there's just too many people who want to tell the truth out there. All it takes is one person. So, is it impossible?
Good foul.
It's highly, highly, highly unlikely because I don't think they have the exact same tattoos. Yes, Ryan.
So you ask about the tattoos, but when they're both like heavily tatted, it's not just like got a little shoulder tattoo or
but we got HD TVs and you got all these solutions. You got people sitting at home watching women's golf calling a penalty. You don't think there's somebody at home going like, hey, Markieff doesn't have a tattoo there. But somebody would find it.
Yeah, but I think they both have like full sleeves. So when someone's got tats up and down each arm, are you really going to be able to tell the difference between a couple of different tattoos? Or are you just going to be like, that guy's got a lot of ink?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I wouldn't know.
Who was the women's golfer who barely moved the golf ball? What was her name? Nobody remembers, right? Come on, it was like she lost the tournament. It was a huge story. I know. I also don't. Lexi Thompson. I wonder her name. Lexi. Thank you. No help. You guys are no help at all.
I'm trying to look up their tattoos.
Are you looking up tattoos? Lexi Thompson. Just slight adjustment to the ball, and somebody calls it. You mean to tell me that the NBA playoffs, which is watched by about 10 to 12, 15 times as many people, as a major in the LPGA, that no one saw it? Hey, he's got a different tattoo. I absolutely believe there's no way he can get away with it because there's no way they have the exact same tattoo. That's it.
Oh, don't fall.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
Have you come up with anything, Boulay, on the tattoos? Nothing on the tattoo. Let's go to Twitter as far as the tattoos are. Nothing.
They look, just from looking at pictures of it, very, very similar.
Similar is not the same. Let me just make sure this is clear, okay? They are identical twins, and I am a father of twins. Now, my daughters are fraternal twins. Fraternal twins means two different eggs, right? So, let me just kind of explain this to you really, really, really quickly. Those are not even close to being the same. They're not even close to being the same. Some of the tattoos are the same. Fraternal twins are two different eggs. They are two different people. Identical twins are the same egg that splits. They are identical in every way, and really only the parent or people who know them really well, or if one puts on a little bit of weight, that's like the only thing that can separate the two. Otherwise, they are actually created from the same egg. So they are identical twins, but it's very troublesome if you're the father or mother of twins. When you walk up, and my daughters, one has blonde hair, one has brown hair, and you're like, oh yeah, they're look alike, they're kind of alike, the same size, like, oh, they're twins. Oh, are they identical? Look, do you know what identical means? Identical means they're the exact same thing.
I'm finding an article. They have more tattoos now, but most of their tattoos are the same.
Most is not all. Most is not all. I looked at the picture. Those are similar. Those are not the same. Look at their shoulders. There's a couple of tattoos. Like, there is a sleuth out there that is going frame by frame by frame and trying to figure it out. Marcus Morris, you're best to come clean. You're best to come clean. If you changed uniforms and played for Marquise, which, by the way, would be hilarious. Because, just so you know, like, he wasn't good, and remember, Isaiah Thomas was giving it to him during the game. Like, the only excuse for him getting beat so many times defensively was, man, I got a bad ankle. But that would be an incredible story. Like, who hasn't asked a twin, did you ever switch up on a girl? Right? Did you ever? She thought she was going on a date with one, and she went on a date with someone. Roger Sherman says they have 100% the same tattoos. Those are not the same. Those are similar.
Man, fucking control.
Let's see. They do look. See, if you look at the left shoulder, I'm going to say similar. I'm going to say not to say the same. That's got to be really, really hard to do. You got to sit there and did they have the same tattoo artist do the same tattoos at like the same time? God, that's going to be a lot. How much money did they spend on that game? All right. The Jet, Jason Terry, is going to join us. We'll discuss with him if he buys into the conspiracy theory that Marcus played for Marquise. Oh, yeah, and we'll actually talk some basketball. I'm Doug Gottlieb in for Colin. This is The Herd.
Oh, good hold.
Doug Gottlieb in for Colin, The Herd on Fox Sports Radio, iHeart app. Anything you missed, you can download Colin's podcast. Nearly 7 million downloads last month alone. Colin will be back Monday. He's on vacation. The rest of us are here grinding in the warm city of Los Angeles. Jason Terry joins us from the Milwaukee Bucks. Long time. Dude, how many? Is that 18? Did you just complete your 18th year in the NBA?
Just finished up number 18.
What?
Okay, feeling good. And primed to do 2 more if so God prohibits.
Okay, well, last year you interviewed for a college basketball coach job. Going back a year and a couple months ago, you interviewed for a job, I believe, at UAB. So, but you want to come back, if possible, and play 2 more years.
Oh, no question. Body's feeling great. More importantly, my mind is still free and fresh. And that's what allows me to go out there and still contribute, to any franchise. Obviously, that we created there in Milwaukee this season, the culture that is being created, grooming the young talent, the young star, so to speak, in Giannis Antetokounmpo, helping his progression, Don Maker, all the rest of the young guys, and being a part of Jason Kidd's coaching staff as a veteran player is what motivates me to continue to do this thing for a couple more years.
All right, LeVar Ball came out yesterday and said Lonzo's shoe, the Zo 2, is going to cost $495. The slides are going to cost $220.
Come on, Paul. Me being a kid at the inner city and just knowing how expensive Michael Jordan were back in the day. And we're talking about Michael Jordan, not LeVar, Lonzo, or whoever other ball there is out there. We're not talking about those. We're talking about Michael Jordan. Those shoes were $125. This guy is talking about 4 times for the cost. I can only imagine what parents are telling their kids right now. You gotta be kidding me.
Okay, but what about the idea of him? He wants to build his own brand, or son's own brand, have his own shoe. Is that the feeling? Mike Brown laughed about the idea of a $500 shoe at his press conference. His dad's like, look, Prada charges this much for their shoes. Why can't we, as a 19-year vet of the NBA, as a guy who was on an NBA championship team, what is your reaction to the idea that a guy who hasn't played would have a $500 shoe?
Well, you know what, and let me say this. More power to him. That's what he feels his shoe is worth. Go out and try to sell as many as you can. I'm not going to contribute to that just because I know that's just too much for me. Now, Louboutin or Versace or Gucci or Louis Vuitton, now maybe, but not no shoes you're going to play basketball in. There's no shoes worth over, for me, $100, maybe $200, maybe that I'm going to run around and play basketball in. And those $200 basketball shoes, I mean, you're really wearing those out to an event or something. You know, the fancy new Jordans that come out, they're exclusive. But not the LeVars, not the Air Balls. No way.
How far away is Giannis from being considered the best in the league? Like, how big is the gap between him and the Westbrooks, him and the Hardens? Like, let's not have the LeBron conversation just yet.
Right.
But between those guys, not yet. How far away is he?
Well, he's not far at all. And the reason why I say that is because I watched his growth and development this season, and then I watched the work that he's put in to achieve the amount of success that he wants. He wants to be great. When I come in the locker room, or when I come in late at night and he's in there shooting, he's already finished up his second session, and then he goes into another film session, and he's watching tapes of, I mean, all repertoire type of guys. Sean Kemp, Scottie Pippen, Kobe, Dirk. I mean, he's watching all of the great players. He's watching film on them, and he's trying to implement a piece of their game into his. And that's what makes him so unique. Because there is no guy that he can say, okay, I want to model my game after him. He has to take bits and pieces of all the other greats and then put it into this game. And then that's why you call him a freak, because he's able to do that. And now all he has to do, for me, is it's all about confidence and knocking down the 15-foot to 3-point jump shot consistently on a night in and night out basis. Because teams are going to do what Toronto did to us in the playoffs. They're going to load up. They're going to have 3 or 4 guys in the paint waiting on him, and they're going to dare him to shoot jump shots. And I believe next year you will see it. I mean, this is another guy. There's only 4 guys in our league that can average a triple-double. James Harden, Westbrook did it this year, LeBron James, and now you throw in Giannis Antetokounmpo. He is a guy that can do that. He's a stat stuffer, and we'll see next year. We're going to challenge him to be great, and I think he will do it consistently next year, taking that next step.
He's an NBA champion, former Sixth Man of the Year. He's a member of the Milwaukee Bucks. He's a 19-year veteran of the NBA. He's the Jet. Jason Terry, a former college basketball player of the year, joining us. Doug Gottlieb in for calling the Herd on Fox Sports Radio and on the iHeart app. You mentioned how teams like to load up. That means put extra guys in help. You can't really do it against many of these lineups, specifically the Cavs. You know, maybe you can help off Tristan, but that's about it. And of course, he's such a good rebounder. He's so athletic that when you see him, he gets dunks, he cuts the basket. What are your thoughts on the Cavs, who, I don't know, to the outsider, looks like they've downshifted, looks like they've flipped the switch. We haven't seen him go back to Toronto yet, and they did trail the Pacers by 26 in the second half before LeBron decided to show the world he's still the best player on earth. What are your thoughts on the difference of the Cavs now as opposed to the team you saw in the regular season?
Well, the biggest difference is the king himself. When he decides to turn it on all facets of his game, when I'm talking about facilitating, scoring, defending, unstoppable. And he can only have one or two of those fastest points, and he's still the best player in the world. What he does when he has the ball in his hand is he draws so much attention, he makes all those other guys better. I mean, I was thinking today, like, if I was coaching against LeBron and we almost had this series come up and we had took care of business against Toronto, is what are the adjustments that need to be made? Do we just say LeBron go for 70 or 80? He hasn't done that yet in his career. 60. He hasn't done that yet in his career, so maybe that will be the key and limit everybody else around him. But when he's playing at this level, you can see it. His teammates feed off of it. When he kind of defers to Kyrie or tries to get Love going, they just don't play as well. They don't quite have the same energy on the defensive end, and offensively, they sure don't have the rhythm that they have when he's in attack mode all game long, 48 minutes of hell, him coming at you. That's the biggest difference.
Everybody knows you as a Seattle guy, Franklin High School guy. Another Seattle guy is Isaiah Thomas, and he's had this incredible regular season, and then the postseason, sister dies, and after trailing 0-2, they win 4 in a row, then they win 2 in a row, he loses his tooth, on his birthday is 53 points. How has he gone from the last pick of the draft? Sacramento didn't want him, he goes to Phoenix, to now to Boston, becoming the most dynamic under 6-foot scorer in the NBA. How has this happened, Jack?
Come on, Melo.
It's work ethic. It's drive. It's guts. It's heart. When you look at Isaiah and you look at his size, a lot of people say at that size, at the position he's playing, he's not going to be able to be a factor. But he's undeterred. He's fearless. He reminds me so much of Allen Iverson and Dennis Stoudemire in Dennis' early years, where that he just gets to where he wants to go to on the court and can do nothing about it. The best defense against Isaiah is to punish him offensively. You have to post him up, you got to beat him up, and take advantage of him on that end of the floor. But with that, he's still going to come at you time and time again. And so, I'm so proud of his accomplishments, man. This is a kid that I've known since he shot baskets in my backyard in 6th grade. And so I'm very close to him.
Yep.
I've seen the work that he's put in to get drafted. I mean, though he was the last pick, I was in 3 or 4 of his workouts, and he completely dominated.
I know.
Look at these. Yeah, go ahead.
I know.
Front office guys, you're like, what are they looking at?
Well, it's really hard to get your head around how good he is. The show is called The Runaway. It's Jason Terry's own show on Sirius XM. It sounds like we'll have him back for another couple of years in the NBA. Jet, thanks so much for joining us. Back with more on the Herd, because you only remember how they finished next. What up? It's the Herd. Doug Gottlieb in for Colin for one final hour. Colin will be back on Monday. Adrian Wojnarowski, Woj, the sage of all news in the NBA, will be joining us half past this hour. Will Steve Kerr return at any point in time during the playoffs? What will happen with the Clippers? What's going to happen with Carmelo Anthony? And was that really Markieff or Marcus Morris in Game 2 of the Wizards' loss to the Celtics? Wizards got to within a game, 2-1, with a big blowout win of the Celtics last night, and the Golden State Warriors took a commanding 2-0 lead as they won by 11, even though the spread was 13, at home last night. But the big news of the day is probably the National Football League. Jay Cutler, who formerly a member of the Bears. Jay Cutler or something, not the Bears. Who did he sign? Houston? Nope. The Jets? Nope. Jay Cutler will be on the Herd on Monday. That's because he's a Fox NFL analyst. Jay Cutler could have gone back and played, probably a part on money and other things with the Jets. The Texans supposedly weren't interested. There's a guy who doesn't have, it's not that he has a bad reputation, but doesn't have a great reputation in terms of his leadership skills and maybe his actual on-field football ability. And in his own words, seemed to have lost at least a portion of the desire to try and right whatever had gone wrong in his career. Instead, took the exit ramp until a great job opportunity. It's a great job opportunity. Like, dude, you go straight from playing in the NFL, maybe being a backup, to being on the number 2 crew. with Fox, covering the NFL, like, that's big time. Big time. You're skipping steps then. Anytime you get a chance, and it's a 30, 40-year profession if you don't screw it up. So it absolutely works for him. And I think maybe the question becomes, this is kind of an all-sports thing. You know, in Major League Baseball, I think Alex Rodriguez is the exception. Pedro Martinez is the exception. The norm is most of these great players from now until eternity, John Smoltz, John Smoltz didn't make the money that the guys are making. You're always going to have a difficult time getting all-time greats to do broadcasting in Major League Baseball, especially the regular season, right? The regular season is 162 games, and even if a guy says, well, you know, I don't want to do a full slate, you can't really cover half the season for a team. You just can't. You have to know everything that goes on. And so many of these guys in baseball have so much money, and they spend so much time away from their families. They're like, dude, the hell with it. I don't want to do it. It's just too much money. I think we'll see it more and more in basketball as well, where guys are like, the amount of money that is being made is ridiculous. And because basketball, for the most part, is a long, long career. Jason Terry just joined us. He's played 19 years in the NBA. You know, Kevin Garnett making $500,000 over the life of his NBA career. So what's going to happen is it's going to be harder and harder to get great players to, hey man, I need you to come in for 100 nights of the year and talk ball. Everybody says they want to do it, but when it becomes a job, you're like, eh. Football's a little bit different because even though the money is huge for the quarterbacks and for some of the position players, average lifespan of a football player in his career is only 4 years. And so some of those guys, they need the work, they need a job, they need kind of a next thing. So I'm just wondering, though, if you look at Calvin Johnson, who was really well compensated. Larry Fitzgerald thought about it this year. Tony Romo did walk away. And now Jay Cutler, Jay Cutler, whether he's a starter or whether he's a backup, like, he could have made $5 million to go play football. Like, there's a little bit of, you guys know what chasing the market is? Well, yeah. It applies in other fields. Let's just use it in real estate, for example, right? Say you heard your market, your area is really, really high, right? And you bought your house for $500,000. And everybody in the neighborhood seems to be telling you, the market's hot, the market's hot. You know what you should do? List your house for $1 million. So you get a little greedy and you're like, hey, I put in more money into my house. I got a better yard. I'm at the end of a cul-de-sac. I got a pool. I got space. Everything's been updated. We got no issues. Great neighborhood. My neighbor's house sold, you know, per square foot, mine should be $1.1 million. And then all the homes around you start to sell in the 7s, 8s, and 9s. And you're sitting there 1.1. And then by the time you lower your price, your house has been on the market for 60 days, 90 days, 100 days, because you thought that's your price. Make me move at that price. And now somebody comes into the neighborhood like, and they look at your house like, wow, this house is beautiful. It's on a cul-de-sac. It's got a pool. It's updated. Hey, something must be wrong with it. And so you end up going from wanting to get to the top of the market to chasing the market all the way down. Many of these NFL quarterbacks, that's the problem. That's going to be the problem with Kaepernick. That's probably the problem with Cutler as well. Which you see Mike Glennon, who's unproven as a starter, get $18.5 million essentially up front in a one-year deal. And you're like, look, I've been doing this for a decade. Okay? Last year, Ryan Fitzpatrick got $12 million. What's my value? 15 mil. I'm a starting quarterback. But then you see other guys at your level starting to get less because they're backups. And no one's willing to take you and guarantee you that you're a starter, and now you start chasing the market. And you have to make a decision. And you own a house. Do I chase the market down and sell it for $800,000 when I thought I was getting 1.1? Or do I, you know what? I'm going to pack it in. I'm going to live in it. And the next time the market's hot, I'm going to list it more appropriately. Same thing for Jay Cutler. Probably the same thing for Kaepernick. For Cutler, his decision was easy. I didn't really want to play football, but I didn't want to end it the way I ended it. But now I get a chance to start a whole new career and skip a bunch of steps. Done deal, just like Romo. For Kaepernick, I would say the smartest way is to, and this is another thing in terms of real estate, is like, right, you wait until you'll hold it on the market, or you take it off the market and put it back on right in August, right when somebody's getting ready to move into, you're in a good school district, and somebody's moving in, they got to get in that school district before school starts so they can get their kid in that right school. So, you know, if I'm Kaepernick, I wait. Wait. Somebody's going to go down. Somebody's going to need a quarterback. And you're the guy, whatever your hesitation on Kaepernick, be it political, be it the fact that he can't change arm angles, has small hands, he doesn't always have great grasp of the playbook, he likes to run too much, he's not as fast as he used to be, his arm's not as strong as he used to be, he's not terribly easy to get along with, he has to fit the specific system. Like, any of these things can be logical reasons why you don't want him to be your starting quarterback.
What the
When you have your starter go down, you have a good team, and you're looking out there, you're going like, man, who's out there? Who's available? Ew, Brandon Whedon. You know, you start going go through the Hoyer's already in San Francisco. The Fitzpatrick, no. One of the McCowns will be available, or Colin Kaepernick. Like, he played in a Super Bowl team, played in a couple great playoff games. That is a lot like being that last really nice house available right before school starts. Wait, bet on yourself. Bet on yourself. But think about the trend that we have now. Right? Like, you have Tony Romo was a really good quarterback. I could make the argument to you that Tony Romo is the least respected, super high quality quarterback. The problem is I don't have the playoff game or the playoff run. Like, yes, Dez caught the ball, but that wouldn't have ended the game. We went 2 playoff games. And to go from there to the big state chair at CBS, or to go from Jay Cutler, who was getting killed because of his body language, he had a knee injury. He'd been hurt all the last 3 years of the season, been hurt.
That's fine.
Coaches didn't want him around. To go from that to the numbers 2 seed at Fox, and oh yeah, by the way, if you put him in the right situation, they're going to put Charles Davis as another analyst in the booth, where all Cutler has to do is tell you, like in 2017 football talk, what he would have seen and what you're supposed to do, and just teach the game from a quarterback's perspective. He's clearly bright enough. He's obviously an engaging guy, right? Like, you do that, and you got this job for 30 years. But be a fascinating trip. Fascinating. Last night in Washington, I thought we saw something we haven't seen enough, maybe. And I know that lots of guys yearn for the olden days. And I don't think it's necessarily like when Kurt Rambis, who did Kurt Rambis clothesline? I mean, did he clothesline Dennis Johnson, or did he clothesline, I think it was Danny Ainge he clotheslined. Like, clotheslining a guy, undercutting a guy, sucker punching a guy, like, wherever the line is, wherever the gray area is, I always thought that's, even old school NBA guys like, yeah, that's not good. But last night, Kelly Olynyk set a nasty playoff screen. A nasty playoff screen on Kelly Oubre. Here's what it sounded like.
Isaiah to his left, and moving screen called on Kelly Olynyk, who immediately goes, oh my goodness! A vicious cheap shot thrown at Kelly Olynyk. And man, you talk about flashing back to the 80s. One of the dirtiest plays we have seen in years. Kelly Olynyk was talking to an official, and he got hammered from the backside. Was that Oubre?
Oubre.
Kelly Oubre's night is done. His playoffs may be done. My goodness. What was that young man thinking? Obviously, the answer, nothing.
Look, Kelly Oubre, let's be honest now. He pushed Kelly Olynyk, right? Like he pushed him. He didn't slug him. It wasn't like Kelly Olynyk was standing there just walking along going, hey, what's going on here? And he came in and Cole cocked him and there was 2 hits, him hitting Kelly Olynyk and Kelly Olynyk hitting the floor. Also, are they the only 2 guys named Kelly in the NBA? I just thought in my mind. And the last Kelly I can think of is Kelly Leak, right? Kelly Leak, Bad News Bears, who Steve Nash looks remarkably like. Steve Nash looks like Kelly Leak. Just does. How do we know Steve Nash and Kelly Leak are the same guy? But the fact is, like, we kind of need that. The playoffs have been boring. They just have. And we need that in sports. It's like the 30-second home run trot. You guys see Manny Machado last night with the home run trot? Manny Machado's been thrown at multiple times by the Boston Red Sox. He unleashed a bunch of profanities a couple of days ago. Also hit a home run later in that game. And Manny Machado took his time and was Cadillacing a home run. You guys know what Cadillac is? That's Cadillac. You take your time. Take your time in a home run. And he wasn't looking around. But that's, like, sports do need, they don't need the clothesline. They don't need the pole cock. They don't need you to undercut a dude. You don't need to necessarily try and hurt somebody. But they do need the edge of, hey, you know what? I don't like you. I don't like you. Like, somehow we've taken the word hate and made it into hater, and you drink haterade, and we've kind of mocked the word hate, and you tell your kids, like, don't hate, but don't say hate. Say, I really don't like. But Mom, I hate broccoli. Okay, so you don't count hate broccoli. But I hate it when, like, no, just say I don't like. But in sports, it's a kind of a different context to it. And hating that other person doesn't mean wanting to hurt them. Maybe a little. Hating that other person doesn't mean you cannot stand to have them around. Okay, a little bit. It's just the idea of, dude, I don't like you. I don't like the way you walk. I don't like the way you talk. I don't like the way you Cadillac a home run. I don't like the way you celebrate a win. I don't like the way you pout when you lose. Like, look, and the truth is, if you were on my team, I'd probably think it was awesome. But you're not, so I don't like you. Last night, the NBA kind of needed the Oubre Olynyk thing, right? Big Canadian dude who looks like he's from, he's got the hair like the Hanson brothers from Slapshot. Slapshot is a dated reference, but it's a really good reference. It's a really good reference. The only 2 Kellys in the NBA going at it. A name that gets mocked often, trying to be tough guys. And then Sean Grande on the Celtics radio network, that was what they called. They acted like that was, like it was like just a sucker punch. You know, they acted like it was the people's elbow. They acted like Kelly Oubre went, and before sucker punching Kelly Olynyk, he picked up the chair and smashed it on his back. And then dropped up, woo! Like, he pushed him. And Olynyk fell down like he was Marcus Smart. And he sold the technical foul and the ejection. Sports kind of needed it. What was the buzz in league circles when LeVar Ball announced that Lonzo's first shoe would be $500 a pop? We'll ask Adrian Wojnarowski. Nobody talks to more NBA execs than Woj. He joins us upcoming next. I'm Doug Gottlieb in The Herd. Doug Gottlieb in for Colin. The Herd rolls on. Fox Sports Radio. Hope you're having a great Friday. Get a safe weekend. We've kind of reached, look, it's spring in most parts, right? We haven't reached like beach and lake weekends just yet. You got to get to Memorial Day weekend before you get there. At Talladega in NASCAR, you have Kentucky Derby in horse racing. I'll tell you this about the Kentucky Derby, having been there. I'm not sure there's a more overrated drink in the history of Earth than the mint julep. It's just basically they pour a glass of gin with some ice, put a mint on it, and they're like, there you go. I think they're supposed to add something else to it, but it doesn't. It's like, do you like bourbon straight with ice and a mint? Now, the good news is, like one glass and you're good. You are good. The bad news is, like it's like drinking turpentine. When you're drinking it, you're expecting some sort of mixed drink. Like everybody's up in their spring. Goulet, did you guys ever do a
Why
Kentucky
the
Derby party?
fuck they do that?
No, I never really was into that.
Nobody's really.
No. I would like to go once, just to check it off the list.
No, but you never had like a home Kentucky Derby.
No, never.
Never? They're kind of fun. You get dressed up the same thing. You get like seersucker on, you get a stupid hat on. Girls wear a big hat, and then everybody just gets plowed, and you watch a bunch of races. And some people bet on them online. Or whatever. It's the same thing you do at the Derby, only you don't actually have to go to Louisville, Kentucky to do it. Going to it's a bucket list event. You check it off. I went. I mean, I could say that I've done that. My kids actually get super into it. Now, my girls ride horses, and they want to know the names, and it's all about the look of them. The thoroughbreds they're spectacular. Can we point out that a horse is not, in fact, a man? You know this. Like, we got the sports people yesterday. Sorry, dude, just because you're awesome at math does not make you an athlete. It makes you awesome at math. You're a gamer. Great. You can control a video game which controls pretend players pretending to play football. That's not an athlete. But neither are horses. It's not that horses are incredibly athletic animals that doesn't make them athlete. They don't know what's at stake. They know. No, they don't. Horses can be super intelligent and can be athletic and cannot be athletes. And can run in races and win and lose.
Hey guys, before we get started with the podcast today, a quick word from ADT. At ADT, they believe that everyone deserves to be safe. For 140 years, ADT has helped stop more crime than any other home security company. It's no wonder more people choose ADT to protect their homes. At ADT, they know your security is only as strong as the people who are backing you up. So when you get the ADT yard sign for your home, it's not just a sign, it's peace of mind. Go to ADT.com and see how you can get ADT 24/7 protection. ADT is tested, trusted, proven. Feel safe? Visit ADT.com. Welcome to the Skip and Shannon Undisputed Podcast. I'm Joy Taylor. You can catch us Monday through Friday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 Pacific on FS1. Here's what this podcast is all about. It's an unscripted, unfiltered, undisputed version of the Day Show, and there is a lot to get into in today's podcast. Skip and Shannon react to how the Spurs will respond with Tony Parker missing his first playoff game of his career. Skip calls the marketing technique behind LeVar and Lonzo's new Big Baller shoes creative, and it might replace the Jordan Futures on set. But Shannon says there is only one guy that can charge $500 for a sneaker, and his logo is on his shoe. Plus, Hall of Famer Chris Carter says the front office in Seattle told Richard Sherman to check yourself before you wreck yourself. But that will help Sherman show.
G. Will kind of play.
Rob Parker is here to tell us the Cavs will lose a game before the finals, but LeBron probably has a toothache from all the cupcakes in the Eastern Conference. Finally, former Yankee and FS1 baseball analyst Nick Swisher comes to the desk to preview the weekend series between the Yankees and Cubs in Richmond. No tie today, Shannon?
So, usually on this show, you were playing for a tie at best, and now you're playing for no tie. You've come over to my side, right?
I'm dressed like I got out working. I'm here at the happy hour. I'm getting an early start on Cinco de Mayo.
I mean, that doesn't look like happy hour here to me.
Skip and I both are headed to happy hour now.
That's small. Can't beat him, join him? Is that what it is?
He always thinks I'm trying to, be like your man.
Well, listen, I never wear a tie, so I've already been on board. Now we're all on the same page now.
Yeah, Skip, you don't like it? You want me to go?
I think it looks sharp. I think it looks great. It looks better than you've ever looked. It's the best you've ever looked.
See, I knew it. You just can't. You just gotta get that one in before we get started.
The Cavs are on the road tonight for Game 3 against the Raptors. Cleveland is a perfect 6-0 in the playoffs. LeBron is averaging 34 points per game so far. We're joined by Rob Parker. Rob, will the Cavs lose a game before the finals?
Yeah, they'll lose a game.
What the fuck,
Same
man?
thing. People thought they were going to roll in. It's just impossible. There'll be one night where one of the teams will make some shots, and you know what I mean, and LeBron and them will probably take a night off or just feel bored, or because it's I know,
come to this, they
but
have to be bored.
But that's how it is,
say I'm not blaming LeBron. He can only play who's in front of him. Right. But you got to admit, Shannon, that when you look back on LeBron's era, you're going to say
That was good
there
ass
was
play.
nobody there. There was no point of resistance in the East. When you try to make a case for Paul George and those guys up in Toronto and Lowry and all and the Celtics, I mean, it's just nobody, you know. And that's not his fault. But I'm just saying, his legacy is going to be marred by this. That he didn't have. You want to have a battle, and you know what? You can look at Michael Jordan and say this. He had to struggle with the Pistons before he finally got over the hump. The Pistons had Isaiah and them had to struggle against the Celtics, Skip, before they finally got over the hump. Every team should have to do that. LeBron hasn't had to struggle.
Hold on. You say Jordan had to struggle against the Pistons. What happened when he finally beat the Pistons? They were old. You talk about the Pistons.
They weren't old.
Don't do that, Rob. Rob, you were in Detroit. You were in Detroit. When the bad boy Pistons were in their prime, what did they do to Jordan? When the big three Celtics were in their prime, what did they do to everybody in the East, Rob Parker? Tell the truth now.
Yeah, but the difference was that the way that they played the game then. You know this. Was Michael Jordan guarded the same way, Skip, as they guard LeBron James? Is it the same game?
There was a book written about it called The Jordan
Thank
Rules,
you.
about the Pistons' rules regarding Michael Jordan.
You know what, Skip?
What the fuck?
You give me a lot of credit when you're talking, having me and Skip having a conversation, and I'm not gonna get into the conversation he's having. He says, but you know, Shannon, I'm really impressed with your historical knowledge of the NBA.
I am.
He says, football, you know it. You played it, you know it back and forth. He says, but basketball. And I was like, well, hold on. You know what? I was a young man. I was, really into basketball. Because I remember, 79, the great games. But I also, so I go back a ways.
I've been covering the league since 1987. I want to let you know that.
Okay. Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson was great. Great player, wasn't he, right?
Yeah.
Played in the West. Right, Skip?
Yes.
In 82, when they went to the finals, they was 8-0 in the playoffs before they got to the finals. 8-0. They lose again. So if the zeros in the last column, that means what? You lose nothing. Okay, in 83, they lost 3 games. Played 3 rounds, they lost 3 games going to the finals. In 85, they went 11-2 before they got to the Celtics in the finals. 3 rounds, lost 2 games. Hey, 87, let me tell you about 87. They played the Celtics again. They were 11-1 before they got to the finals. All these big teams.
What about 88?
They struggled that year.
Oh! He wasn't going to mention that one, Skip.
Hold on.
Wait, the Dallas Mavericks, the baby Dallas Mavericks took them to 7 games out of the 4.
In 89, before they got swept by the Pistons, they were 11-0. And in 91, when Magic was old and past his prime, and he was hurt, they lost 3 games before they lost to the Bulls. So for all y'all keep talking about LeBron, and you keep talking about the Mavericks, how many Hall of Famers was on that Mavericks team?
They were loaded. They went about 8 deep with really good players.
How about time?
Roy Tarpley would have been if he didn't
How about this, Skip?
Derek Harper, Rolando Blackman. I can go on and on and on.
Go on and on. They were playing the Clippers. The Clippers had not yet arrived in L.A.
They were in San Diego?
Oh, yeah. And the Kings hadn't arrived in Sacramento. They were in Kansas City. Now tell the rest of my story, Skip.
Okay, now I'm going to tell the LeBron James story because he has had nothing but cakewalks to 6 straight finals in the Eastern Conference, and he is so blessed to not have had to play in the West at a time when it's much tougher than the East. So we go back to the greatest player ever, Michael Jeffrey Jordan, and went through all of his, and I won't bore you because I'll just sum it up for you.
To go.
In the Eastern Conference alone, on the way to the finals, he had to face 39 Hall of Famers over 20 series covering 13 years. That's 39 Hall of Famers.
What
We
the
know
fuck,
about the first
Sit
5
down.
Hall of Famers.
Sit down.
You shortchanged those Celtics because it was Bird and Cale Parrish. Dennis Johnson's in the Hall of Fame, and Bill Walton is in the Hall of Fame. He was the 6th man of the year.
And what you call it? They also had Tiny Archibald on that team, who's also in the Hall of Fame, the 81 team. But go ahead, Skip, go ahead.
And then back to the Pistons here. There weren't just a couple of Hall of Famers. There are 5 Hall of Famers on that team, starting with Isaiah Thomas, Joe Dumars, Dennis Rodman, Bill Laimbeer, and Adrian Dantley was on the first team.
Yes.
So that's 5 Hall of Famers.
Bill Laimbeer's in the Hall of Fame?
not sure, Skip. That one I'm not
okay,
sure.
But
Okay.
Oh my God.
So you have to face them year after year. Then Dantley got traded to the Mavericks for Mark McGuire, so you added Mark McGuire, who's really a great player, not a Hall of Famer, but a very good player. And then along the way, you have to do Shaq and Barkley and Ewing several times, and Alonzo Mourning, and then at the end, '98, you got Reggie Miller and Chris Mullin in that Indiana team that was really a tough basketball team. And that thing went 7 games.
Still, you keep talking about these Hall of Famers, but when they had those Hall of Famers in Boston, what did Michael Jordan do? When they had those Hall of Famers in Detroit, and they did. Hold on, bro.
I'm not buying your funny math or your new math, because what you're not saying is you're saying Michael couldn't get through them, but LeBron's not even facing anybody. That's the difference. It's like this LeBron who? Paul George getting who?
So,
name me the toughest opponent he's had to face in the East. Who?
Do you think Paul Jordan, when his career is over, will be a Hall of Famer?
No. And I'll ask you this. LeBron went and joined up with two of the best players in the East in order to get to where he was. And even then, he only won 2 out of 4 championships. Even then.
The only difference between then and now is that the players didn't have the option of free agency to move around. The players are taking it upon themselves to put teams together. Just because a general manager or the owner put the team together, that doesn't make any. Think about it. You have James Worthy, you have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, you have Magic Johnson, you have Jamal Wilkes, you have Bob McAdoo, all within a 3-year time frame. So how many times do you expect them to win the championship, bro? Talk about the Supersonics. How many Supersonics?
No. But you're manipulating. What LeBron did was manipulate. He looked at the East. He looked at where he was. He realized if I put this together, he's got a clear path. It's a manipulation that's totally different from putting together a team as a general manager, taking a piece. Bob McAdoo was with the Buffalo Braves, and then you know what I mean, and all kinds of stuff. And yes, did they get him? He was a good player.
And they drafted Larry Bird before his senior year, and they got him.
Okay.
And they made the trade for
And they
Robert
got
Parrish.
lucky on some other stuff. I get that. But I'm just saying LeBron manipulated it to the East and hasn't faced nearly as many top 50 players when you go through the list. And that's all. It doesn't mean that he's not a great player.
It doesn't mean
he's had an easier route. That's it. You have to admit that. Shannon, I want you to admit it.
No,
I want you to admit it.
It does not mean that there won't be top 50 players when they do a new calculation.
Give me a name.
Well, tell me these great.
Give me a name. Give me one name.
Give me a name. Give me the great players.
Give me one name. Give me one name in the East. Give me one.
In the Kansas City Royals. Give me a great name.
Give me one.
On the San Diego Clippers. Give me one.
You can't give me a name. Who's coming? Who's the Hall of Fame? Carmelo.
Carmelo ain't going to the Hall of Fame.
And what did Carmelo do in his postseason career?
Okay, you said, but Tracy McGrady going to the Hall of Fame. What did he do?
Tracy McGrady, you sure he should be going to the Hall of Fame?
It doesn't matter if he should or shouldn't.
No, but
D-Wade is in the Hall of Fame.
Tracy McGrady's the Hall of Famer. All of
Nothing to note, Shannon. In the '91 playoffs, when Jordan beat the Pistons, Isaiah Thomas was 29 and Joe Dumars was 27.
They weren't old. He said they were all old and washed up.
29 27.
Isaiah Thomas was in 11th year.
29 years old. He wasn't old.
Old.
Joe Dumars, when you say 28?
Old.
27.
With the big 3.
By the way, the Raptors have announced this morning that Kyle Lowry is a game time decision. So we'll see.
There we go again.
Can we get a refund on those games?
Yeah, we did it with Kyle Lowry.
We want to welcome Jay Cutler to the Fox family. He officially joined us today as a Fox NFL analyst. So welcome, Jay.
Wow, Jay Cutler is now a member of the Fox family.
Yep.
And
That means, Shannon Sharp, that we have 2 Vanderbilt men under the same roof here, which means the IQ of Fox Sports just went through the roof. Right?
You got it raised.
Oh, is it really? Oh, I hadn't noticed that.
You know what, Jay? All the bad things I ever said about you, I take back.
Yeah, I'll bet.
I take back, Skip. I take back. I take them back.
Well, now you don't have to worry about him anymore. He's just up in the booth.
Doing his thing.
Yeah.
I hope he
analyzing.
I hope he does a great job.
Yes, well, welcome, Jay. We're happy to have you. Next up, LeVar Ball is at it again. LeVar and Lonzo's Big Baller brand revealed their new shoe yesterday, the Zoe 2. The shoe cost $495. This comes a week after Nike, Under Armour, and Adidas reportedly said no to licensing Big Baller brand. Shaquille O'Neal tweeted, "Hey, LeVar Ball, real big baller brands don't overcharge kids for shoes." LeVar tweeted, "Big ballers, if you can't afford the Zo2s, you're not a big baller." Warriors assistant coach Mike Brown was asked about the shoes last night. Let's take a listen.
Would you buy your kids a pair of shoes for $500 from an unproven NBA player out to college?
No.
Shannon, was it a mistake by LeVar to charge this much?
Yeah, I think it is. Now, I don't have a problem with him, coming out with his own brand and trying to market and trying to make money. We live in a capitalistic society. You come up with innovation and people sell things all the time. But Skip, the word I'm going to use in retailing, they always say, is price point. His price point is way, way off. You can't charge as an upstart more than what established shoe companies are charging. The Jordan, LeBron, the Kyrie, the Steph Curry, the KD. That's 2-3 times what established NBA players with the backing of established NBA brands. I don't understand what he was trying to go for. And then to say, well, if you can't afford these shoes, you're not a baller. Can you imagine if Mercedes said, well, hey, you can't afford this car, you ain't a baller? Well, I think everybody gonna say, well, I'm a baller block because I'm not finna pay $500 for these orthopedics. Skip, he got to bring the price down. If you want to do $100, and maybe they don't sell in America like this, but Stephon Marbury has a shoe, and it's not a major backing, but it does very well overseas, and so maybe that's the case. I just think he rubbed a lot of the big brands the wrong way. I want $1 billion, and you don't have to give it to me all at once. You can give it to me $100 million over 10 years. Skip, that was the wrong way to go about it. Say, yes, I would love to work with the big brand, the name brand sneaker companies, and hopefully we can come to something that my son, myself, and the shoe, because I have a prototype of my own, but to go about it this way, I think he's going to have a problem moving this shoe.
Okay, I hear you. You're probably right. This could be epic fail on the part of LeVar Ball. But once again, my step back perspective on this is somehow LeVar Ball continues to make himself the biggest story in sports. He's risen above NBA playoff stories. This has become, over the last 24 hours, the biggest story in sports.
It's trending.
Seriously, 2 months ago, just 2 months ago, I didn't know who LeVar Ball was. I knew who Lonzo was, but I didn't know about his dad.
Nope.
Right?
Nope.
And all of a sudden, this man now has the cachet and the, you know what, the chutzpah. But he's got the cachet to dare to launch his own sneaker line after thumbing his nose at Nike and Under Armour. You don't want to work with me? And Adidas, all of them. He said, heck with you, heck with you, heck with you, watch this. And he has launched his own line. And immediately, within 24 hours, he is...
Hello. Hi. What's up?